Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to explain my vote. I didn't plan on speaking today, but I rise to respond to some of the questions that have been brought up by our colleagues on the other side of the aisle. I have heard concerns about the question of whether African descent is too broad, and what if someone like Elon Musk could qualify for such reparations. We need not look further than this own house. My grandfather's family came to Lamu in Kenya in 1890. My grandmother's family came to Zanzibar in 1890. I was born a son of the Ugandan soil in Nsambya Hospital in Kampala in 1991. I am of African descent, and I am not black. And that is not a surprise to any one of us here. And I am not eligible for any kind of reparations tied to the harms of slavery. And I trust that the Commission would find that same determination. Because who is better at determining blackness than the United States government? Because it is that government that determined it from the inception of this country, through Jim Crow, up until this point, to deny political, social, and economic rights to black Americans at every single juncture. There was no problem with it for many throughout the duration of that time, and yet now when it comes to the question of reparations, everyone is concerned. I've also heard the question of why shouldn't the minority, which has never sounded like any minority I've met in my life, be given the ability to appoint members to this commission. The Republican Party is in full embrace of Donald Trump, a man who referred to many of the places that enslaved New Yorkers came from as shithole countries. So why should that same party be able to determine...
Ladies and gentlemen,
I do not understand why that is so objectionable. Do you not support that man who has said these things?
Mr. Otis in the affirmative. Ms. Lucas to explain her vote.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My colleagues throughout this discussion has already started talking about circumventing the system by including themselves in the idea of reparations for their blue-eyed children, no shade, and their ancestors who were indentured servants. That is the point I was making. We also had someone mention about their African descent who believes that they wouldn't be included in the conversations because we know who's black. But if it's not reflected in the language, that's when it can become complicated and confusing. But I feel strongly about ensuring that those people who were actually enslaved in America were repaired. That was my point. That the Elon Musk of the world don't circumvent the system as we've seen happen on other instances. But I am happy that the sponsor of this bill has finally recognized today on record, and everyone has spoken about chattel slavery, that lineage-based has to be also a focus in this particular study. And because it's on record, because it allows us to see the intention of the sponsor, I am going to change my no vote to a yes. Thank you, sponsor.
Ms. Lucas in the affirmative. Ms.